my Area 51 line. You're on the air. Hello.
Welcome to the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast, where what you've known as reality will be shattered by the truth. Krista and Brandy will lift the veil from your eyes, revealing what has either been hidden or denied you for eons.
Hey, welcome.
Happy Thursday.
Thursday. Yay.
Yay. Everybody's almost there. Yay.
Yeah, I'm ready for it, man. We got a big weekend planned, don't we?
We do. We really, really do. We're going to do some investigating with some friends this weekend, and we're just super excited.
Yep. Looking forward to it. So stay tuned. I think Paranormal Paul is going to go live, do his regular Saturday night show from there. Be looking for all of us. I'm sure we'll all be on making appearances, right?
Yeah, we'll be running through. I'll be waving.
Yep, absolutely. Looks like we have somebody backstage. I'm going to go ahead and bring him up as soon as he gets done drinking. He was taking a drink. Hey, Tex, how are you?
Well, I was muted, but believe it or not, it was just water. I promise.
Well, that's okay. I'm drinking tea, so,
I got my bottle of water.
Yeah, so it's all good. So I've actually confirmed with Doug today, and so I told him the time. He hasn't showed up yet, so we'll just see. If not, you're stuck with Brandy and Tex and myself, so we'll just see how it goes.
Stuck with us. Dang it.
Yes. Darn the luck.
I know.
Yeah, because if you
I'm
can't
totally
tell, I am
unprepared to
not.
do a show without a guest.
Right? So it is what it is. And like I said, I talked to him earlier today and he was good to go. So I don't know if something came up or he's just running late. Things happen. Life happens,
Well, yeah, I mean, there are storms rolling through, all over the place. So I hope he's not having trouble with the internet or anything, because that has been happening.
That happens too. Yeah, absolutely it does. So, including my own.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, hey, you guys take this show for just a minute. I will be right back.
Okay, no problem. So I do have to tell us. I got to tell a story. What happened? Tex, you kind of know what happened, and it was all the way through the Monday show that you had on Texas Front Porch, and I had to call Tex. I'm like, hey, are you okay without me? I have an outdoor cat kind of adopted me. I don't know how it happens, but I always end up, and I have one or two that just kind of hang around and not go away. Anyway, so it started, on Sunday evening, it started to, rain, and then the thunder, and the storms weren't crazy, but they were pretty bad. And then I started hearing this little meow going on. And I'm like, what is the cat doing out in the rain? That's not like her. So I started looking around, and I have a cover for my outdoor grill. I have a cover that had blown off, and it was laying there on the ground. And, and I'm looking out, and she's laying in it. I'm like, what is she doing? It is storming outside, right? Then I hear her, another meow, and I'm like looking at her, and then she looks straight at me, and then I hear another meow, and I'm like, no. So I slipped on some shoes. I ran outside in the pouring rain. She had 5 kittens, y'all, 5 kittens, and she stuffed them into this cover that had fallen off my grill. Well, I don't think she was realizing that there was probably a ½ inch of water in the bottom of this where she was stuffing her kittens. She was just trying to keep them dry, but didn't realize that it's like there's so much rain. Right. So I ran out there and I'm rescuing all these kittens. I'm running inside. My mom is like, "What are you doing?" I said, "We've got kittens. We've got kittens, Mom." And she's like, "Oh no," So I brought them all in. I brought the cat in. I got them all in the laundry room. Got them all separated. Put them in their own little kennel and everything. Got them all dry. Of course, there was a runt, and she wasn't doing so well. And we were doing our best to keep her alive. And unfortunately, before the show on Monday, we lost that little runt kitten.
Oh.
So I had to go out and I had to bury it and all that kind of good stuff. So
yeah,
but I still have 4 healthy kittens, and I put them all back outside because she is just not happy inside. She doesn't like it. So I put this kennel outside and I let it open during the day so she can run about with their, get out, get back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I just closed her up. And now that we're going to have some more rain, I, did the whole thing with a tarp and blankets and all of this stuff. So they should stay warm and dry. They're talking about like heavy storms or something maybe later on this weekend. So they might have to come back inside. She's not going to like it. She's not going to like it. But we've got 4 kittens and a healthy mama. So we're pretty happy with that.
Yeah. I've talked to you several times this week and you never told me you had kittens.
Well, it's like I go to work and then I'm there forever. And then I come home and then we've got other things to talk about. And it just kind of, slips. So my daughter on Sunday was with her grandmother, right? And she thinks of these cats as her children. So when I told her, I said, "You better come home early." And she's like, "Why do I need to come home early?" I said, "Because we got kittens." That was my thing for the night. We got kittens. And she says, "Oh my word, I'm a grandma." That's what she said. "I'm a grandma."
That's hilarious. That's funny.
I said, "Do not make me a great grandma." No.
There you go.
It's not happening. Forget it.
There you go. Well, our guest has
the man of the hour has arrived.
All right. Awesome. We can quit talking about my cats because I just went from 2 cats to 6.
A whole bunch. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to bring our guest up, Mr. Doug Hajicek. Hello.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're good. How are you?
What's up, Doug? Long time, brother.
Hey, Tex, how are you?
Tex decided to join us tonight, and
I think I should move
come on, that's fine. It's all good. More the merrier, right?
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's all good. Doug, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we I met you through BMR show, and I'm like, man, BMR, get Blinds the hookup. So
exactly. I'm like, you can't keep him all to yourself. That is not fair.
I have not done your show yet, so here we go.
Yeah, first time. Well, we definitely appreciate you for sure. Most definitely. I guess we'll just start off with like the most obvious question, like that I'm sure you're asked on every show. How did you get started in this?
I don't really know. I started. It goes way back to me setting out at a very young age. I quit school and I wanted to invent a polymer. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds weird, but there was a very specific polymer I wanted to invent, and I knew if I did this, I could retire and get into the TV business. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did at a very young age. I quit school at 15. I started working on the chemistry of this particular plastic, and I just kept at it. In about maybe 3 or 4 years, I actually had it done. And then I just had to learn how to control it. And that allowed me at that point to have a lot of free time. Basically, I'm a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. I'm retired.
Wow.
If that makes any sense. Meaning I had financial freedom at that point. I didn't have to work 9 to 5 anymore.
Right.
Wow.
And so, and it was an EPDM weather strip for cars. That was the grandfather to all the weather strip on your cars right now.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I'm still getting paid to this day, which is nice. So, okay, to make a long story short, I started doing wildlife research.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a lot of that. And then I started meeting scientists. I'm a young guy. And eventually, they came out with a video camera back in 1970, would have been 76. I bought a Panasonic video camera. People never even heard the word video.
Mm-hmm.
You'd say, and they go, what's video?
Right.
That's how early it was. I started doing wildlife photography.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started meeting other wildlife photographers. And then in the 80s, I met one of the WWF wrestlers, Kurt Hennig.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to start, Mr. Perfect. We decided to start a television production company. So I'm doing wildlife stuff, and we were going to do a fishing show, which we created a pilot. But then during the filming of that pilot, I met an outdoor writer who I kind of worshipped, and I invited him over to the house, and we scratched out another show, a TV show. And then we met like the next day with Ron Hamburg over at CBS.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy said, go. Gave us a green light. So here I am, this young guy, no experience. I have a TV show. I had nowhere to start. I just figured, I could hire people, and that's what I did. So I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And just as a side note, that show is still on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it's still on the air. It's now the host who I started it with. It's now his daughter. He's retired, and his daughter is now the host of the show.
Fantastic.
So, it's just kind of
What's the name of the show?
Oh, it's called, it's gone through so many name changes, but the show is the same. It started out as North Country, then it went to Call of the Wild, and then it went to Back Roads with Ron and Raven on ESPN.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going through all these name changes. Same show, depending what network you're working for. But to this day, it's exactly the same show that we engineered it to be, and it's just his daughter. So from that, I started, I landed a bear documentary because a friend of mine, Dr. Lynn Rogers, had lost his bear tagging where he couldn't tranquilize bears anymore. He lost his federal permit. So he called me up one day, and this was a big life-changing moment for me. He calls me up and he goes, Doug, I got a bear in my yard. And what if we try to get a collar on it without drugging it? Would I get in trouble? And I thought about it, and I said, well, I don't see why you would. You're not drugging it. You just lost your permit to tranquilize bears, not to collar them. So let's go ahead and collar them. So let's just do it with food. So he went and got sweetened condensed milk. I said, get your camera out and set it on a tripod and film it. So he calls me back like 20 minutes later, and he's like, Doug, I got the radio collar on the bear. It's a wild bear. It's got a radio collar, no drugs. He's used sweetened condensed milk. And you have to use bolts, and it's like a big leather, and the bear let him do it. So then I got a hold of, I had a TV agent, but I hadn't done anything really kind of on a national level yet. Called her up. She put a deal together with Animal Planet, like in 10 minutes. So what I pitched her is a documentary based on bear research, based on trust. Okay. That was a big hit. Both sold it, big high budget. So now I've got a national TV show I'm doing. Did that show. Mark Hamill ended up from Star Wars narrated it. And during that show, I came up with a whole bunch of new technology that had never been on TV. One was an IR camera. The big, everybody uses, IR. But then it was a big deal. Nobody had ever even seen it. The executives from Animal Planet flew in to see this technology I wanted to use so they could approve it. And so I did a lot of first, put a camera in a bear den, built the Cub Pro to film wild cubs under the mother bear. So the whole thing was just a very positive thing. It made newspapers all over the world. And then I got from that, I built up to another show. So I landed another show with the Learning Channel on avalanches. It just kept going, a snowballing. And next thing you know, I was up in the Arctic, and I had seen a guy, or didn't see a guy. I saw a big 6-foot lake trout. If you can imagine a lake trout, 6 foot long.
Wow.
Well, I was reeling in about a 30-pound lake trout. And I was up there doing a story for NBC on a show called The Lake That's Never Been Fished. It was just a documentary. And so it was this kind of virgin water that had, never been fished before, way up in the Arctic. And so I see this big fish, and I tell my guide, did you see that? Did you see that thing? And he's like, oh, yeah, I see those things all the time. So, so I'm thinking, okay, so I want to find out what those are. So I find a fishery biologist. We go up to the Arctic, and he comes with, and I'm up there with some other journalists and some people, and we're going to try to get footage of one of these giant lake trout. And I figured they had gotten out of their niche. Dick Sternberg agreed. That was probably what happened. They just stopped laying eggs. So we go up there, and we haven't gotten our footage yet. And I've got to pee. It's the middle of the afternoon. It's really rough on this Arctic lake I'm on, up in that Selwyn Lake in Northwest Territories. I got to pee, so we go to shore. And what do you think's on shore? Bigfoot footprints on the beach.
Wow.
And of course, I like, those aren't bear tracks. What in the world are they? They look like barefoot human, 16 inches long, nice straight line coming out of the water and then onto the beach, into the pea gravel. And it probably swam from somewhere, another island or something, into the pea gravel. And then we followed the tracks to the pea gravel. And I told my 300-pound buddy, I said, jump off that rock. I film him doing that, and he can't even dent the soil. And these footprints are down like 1.5 inches.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, oh, man, this thing weighed like 1,000 pounds. Because if you're jumping off, that's like 800 pounds of force when you're leaping off a big, tall rock and landing. And so we're estimating. And so anyhow, and so we follow the footprints. They go up to a tree, and this was the moment my life changed. At this exact moment, there's a footprint in front of the tree trunk, and then there's one behind the tree trunk of a 7-foot tall black spruce tree. And I'm thinking, whatever it was stepped over the tree.
Wow.
So it stepped over the tree like a weed, like you would walk through a field and step over a flimsy weed. And that's where my buddy and the other guys that we were with said, we need to go now. They were literally scared at that point. Like, it just hit everybody. These are real. And we're in the middle of nowhere. It was a 6.5-hour float plane ride to get dropped off to this area. I mean, we're talking remote.
Yeah, no doubt.
Not even, I mean, there was no native people that lived up there. There was just nothing. So we go back, we get in the boat, I film a story, film all the footprints for the network that I'm working for, and figure, well, I might as well do a nice little side story here on some mystery of the North. And we get back to the tent, the main tent camp, and we ask the pilot if he'll take us up, because we think we can follow those footprints to an end, because there's just a few trees up there. There's no place to hide. So, and I had a broadcast quality camera with me. Take the float plane, it can go really slow and low. And the guy thought we were playing a big joke on him, and he got quite angry. The pilot, he thought the whole camp was in on it. There was some hoax on him,
Wow.
And he got red in the face, and he threw his clipboard against the tent wall, and he said, "Get the F out of my tent."
Wow.
And he was mad. Like when you see somebody that beat red, he was angry. And so me and Rick just kind of snuck out of that tent. And I regret to this day, of course, not going back and pleading with him, swearing on a stack of Bibles. This was not a hoax. Okay, so then I get home. I can't get this out of my mind. And that's when I wanted answers. Finally got a hold of Matt Moneymaker. Through the very early internet's about 19.
Sure.
1991, 1990.
Oh,
And when the
yeah.
internet's kind of new then. I got a hold of Matt, and he was like talking my ear off. Well, you know, Matt, he was very generous with his time. And I told him I was in the TV business, and he's like, hey, we should pitch a doc. Yeah, of course. That's what we should do. And so that's what happened. And then I ended up getting Legend Meets Science for Discovery. And of course, you know the rest. And I got MonsterQuest. And I also got Mysterious Encounters before, right after Legend Meets Science. And that was the first Bigfoot series ever on the air. That was actually a weekly series on Bigfoot, hunting Bigfoot for evidence. And that was a total blast. Amazing. I learned a ton on it. Matt was part of that show. You can still, if you've seen Mysterious Encounters, Krista?
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. It's on. I didn't think anybody ever even heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody saw it because it was on the Outdoor Life Network, right? But it was their number one show.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big hit on their network. But they decided to go into bull riding. And so we got canceled because of bull riding.
Darn bulls.
Darn bulls.
Bigfoot any day over a bull.
Yeah, because when you have a number one show on a network, you don't expect to get canned, right?
Right.
And that's what happened. So that wasn't too good. But that led me then to getting MonsterQuest. So the story of MonsterQuest is really simple. I was pitching a show called Giganto, just called Giganto. Stacy Keach was kind enough to help me with a demo tape. He narrated the demo tape, gave it to my agent. He pitched it and didn't sell it. Just nobody was interested in it. One day I was watching TV like a month later, and I see Peter Jackson's doing a new King Kong movie. And I'm thinking, how can I tie this in with that King Kong movie? So I changed the name to Giganto, The Real King Kong. Called my agent the next morning. He's like, oh, that's brilliant. So he goes and pitches it again to NBC, and they take it. So NBC bought it. So they took it, and then they had to get approval from all their affiliates all over the world. Everybody approved it. Comes back to the president of NBC, and he vetoes it.
Whoa.
Last guy vetoed it. But this was for a prime time NBC special, right? It gets vetoed, but he goes, take it to History, because they own part of History Channel. So take it over to History Channel, they'll do it. So, and I did it. I did that show. Not many people have seen Giganto, The Real King Kong. I'll question you guys. I guarantee you haven't.
I have not seen it.
No. Apparently it is on YouTube now. You can find it on YouTube. But it's my first MonsterQuest episode, but I didn't call it MonsterQuest. So it broke records in the ratings. Like it doubled. I mean, it was nuts. They called me up the next day all excited with the overnights going, Doug, can you do more of these? It's like broke all our records. And I'm like, yeah, I suppose. Sure, I can do more of these. With different topics, same formula that I'd used. And I'm like, okay. So we ended up negotiating all day. And about midnight, I signed the MonsterQuest contract that night.
Wow.
At Kinko's, because it was so late after hours. And they wanted it signed that day. So that's it. That's the story. It's all overnight success from 1970s up until the, 2006, before I actually made any money or did anything that really had any legs to it. Before that, I was just whistling in the dark, like Legend Meets Science. I lost money on that. It was for Discovery Channel, but I lost like, $160,000, still not paid for the first Legend Meets Science.
Wow.
Still in debt. Yeah.
Wow. So going back real quick to the Arctic excursion.
Yes.
Were you a believer, or had you even thought about Bigfoot at that time?
Yeah, I was a believer only from a standpoint of even as young kids seeing the Patterson Gimlin, that frame on the cover of Boys Life magazine or one of the kids magazines in the library. I don't remember which one. And I looked at that and I went, that's a real animal. That's real.
Mhm.
And I grew up maybe like you did, Tex, too. I don't know how old you are, Tex. I know you're younger than I am. But we grew up watching a lot of really cheesy costumes on TV,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like really bad quality. So when
Yeah,
you saw
awful.
awful. And so you just kind of knew based on that. I mean, if Hollywood, that's all they could ever do. And then when I saw that, I went, that's not a costume. I could see the muscles, even in that still photo. And
Right.
so, yeah, it was at that point just accepting that it was a real thing, probably somewhere. I didn't know where.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, flat out, I don't care what other argument you put out there. There's one that stands alone. One, the technology to produce a suit like that did not exist
Right.
No,
at that time.
no.
It couldn't have. It couldn't have.
And
They
really,
didn't have the
you know,
capabilities to do that.
You didn't have the stretch fabric. There was a
No.
lot of things. They didn't have silicone for the
Right.
breasts. They didn't have things that would bounce, like the thigh muscle bounces when it steps from the fat and the muscle in the leg and the weight. There's just too many things. You can just see it, even if it's still. It was that 3 second. Let's put it this way: when you guys watch a Disney movie or any kind of movie, and they throw in an animated tiger
Right.
attacking somebody, like in the what was the movie, The Revenant?
Oh,
it
yeah.
was-
Yeah. With
Is
the
that
bear?
the name of the? I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, but you
Revenant.
could, the bear attacks him. You can see it's CGI, right? You know
Right.
instantly it's not a real bear
Mhm.
because you just can't fool. We have so many brain calculations that go on when we look at a human or an animal. We see a robot bird. We know that's a robot bird.
Right.
When we see, and I use those same instincts with the AI too. And like now that it's getting really good, but you can spot it
Right.
under 3 seconds. You know what it is, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And there are some people that can't, but unfortunately, I feel bad for them because
Mhm.
they're going to have a lot of problems in life. But when you can spot that stuff, you just do.
Mhm.
And so we grew up with cheesy costumes like Lost in Space.
Right.
Yeah.
If you remember any of these series.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh,
when I saw that, I went, that thing's the real deal.
Mhm.
So there you go.
Yep. I still believe.
because I mean, if the technology was there to make a suit that big, we wouldn't be seeing these cheesy things in the movies.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that one argument alone for that video.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean,
Not to
we've
mention the
always
biomechanics.
referenced it to Planet of the Apes, and
Yeah,
you
that was
look
the
at
best out there.
right. It was the best out there at the time, and their mouth didn't even move very well. So
No, it looked like plastic, right?
yes,
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
whole thing looked stiff and it was terrible.
Yep.
If you would have showed me a picture of the Planet of the Apes, there's one person that would have went, "Oh, that's a real ape human."
Yeah.
No, not even close.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
just good. It was just barely good enough so you could just kind of accept it and watch the movie, and that was about as good as it was.
yeah. Even the new ones, still you can tell.
It's animation, instantly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's that yeah, I wholeheartedly, I mean, that's the original, in my book that I think everybody that's kind of got everybody's attention. That and then the movie Legend of Boggy Creek, that's one back in the day too. So
Yeah, I remember seeing that at the drive-in.
yeah.
I went and saw it at the theater.
Jeez, I miss those days.
My brother jumped in my lap when it stuck his head through the arm through the bathroom.
Oh yeah. The
Bathroom.
babysitter.
The bathroom scene.
Was
Yeah.
that the babysitter scene? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, the whole concept of Bigfoot is very scary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I asked Bob Burns that question. Bob Burns is a film historian. He has a big Hollywood film studio or a film museum in LA. And I was interviewing him and I said, "Bob, why is Bigfoot so damn scary to people?"
Mhm.
And he said, "Because they can carry you off
True.
and they can eat you later.
That's true. That's true.
They're intelligent enough to carry off hold you captive and eat you when they want to. And
Yep.
that's what's so scary about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. And the unknown, I think too, people are scared of the unknown.
Yeah.
It's not something they're comfortable with, including myself.
No, I'm scared. I turn into when I've had encounters, well, like if I'm would you think you're safe in a cabin? But I'm thinking, oh, he can just punch right through that window. That's just
Right.
a plate of glass.
Right.
And they'll be right outside the window. They're there because they're doing naughty things to the cabin. And there ain't nobody that lives around, where I go. It's always very remote.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so I got a Bigfoot now 2 inches from my head out that window, and he's peeing or he's doing whatever. And I'm like, well, all I got to do is just pull the curtain back. Nope.
Yep.
Don't have the guts.
Yep. I hear you. Can you talk about some of the encounters that you have had with Bigfoot and any of these other cryptid creatures?
Man. Yeah. Okay. My first kind of encounter would have been back in the 70s when I went. It wasn't really, I don't know if it was a Bigfoot encounter, but you guys can decide. I'm on my deer stand. I went deer hunting with my uncle, who's a really good deer hunter. And he brought his sons, my cousins, and I brought my best friend, Ron. And we went up there and he put us on our stands at about 4 a.m. So I'm on the stand, pitch dark. They're all walk away, and they're all about almost a half a mile away from each other, these stands. And we're all going to meet at the camp in the middle of the afternoon for lunch. Okay. So I'm on the deer stand. The sun is just barely starting to come up. Everything's just amazing. I can see where I am now, and I'm like, oh, it's beautiful here. It was like moss-covered rocks. Everything's moss-covered, and there's a little stream right by me. That's probably only about maybe 1.5 feet wide, and it was just beautiful. So emerald green, and all of a sudden I got, I heard what I thought was like a gorilla beating its chest.
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't a grouse. I know what grouse sound like. No, this was like it vibrated my body and the little, wooden stand that I'm sitting on. I'm like, what in the hell is that? And the only thing I could relate it to was a gorilla. But I'm like, well, we don't have gorillas in northern Minnesota, right? And all of a sudden I get blasted with stink. Like it was like rotten, like there was a dead body a foot away from me. It was horrible. And I'm covering my mouth and I can't breathe. And so now I'm thinking the chest beating and the smell. And I don't know where. I think I read an article about skunk apes smelling in Florida, a newspaper article. I don't know if I put it together, but I put one in the chamber at that point. Okay, so I'm sitting on the deer stand, and then everything just quit as quick as it started. No more smell. Everything's great. Noon comes. I don't see any deer. I go back to camp. I'm starving. I'm going to go eat some lunch. Every single person in camp had the same exact experience.
Wow.
So whatever it was, walked from deer stand to deer stand and said, "You're not welcome in my area," or something like that.
Wow.
And it was my cousin Mark who goes, "That was a Bigfoot. It's got to be." And I'm like, and then I really thought, I said, "Oh, are they up here?" And he said, "Yeah, ask my dad. They're up here." So I'm like, okay.
And you probably didn't see a thing that morning, did you?
No, I didn't see any deer. No, nobody got a deer.
No.
And then on the second half, my buddy shot a 8-pointer, and that was the only deer taken that whole weekend. But that area, of course, is known as a hotbed now, and I, didn't think. I've actually had another encounter in that area, but my cousin Scott, who was with on that hunting thing, he actually saw Bigfoot while he was deer hunting years later in that area.
Wow.
And that's in Orbs, Minnesota. It's right on the Canadian border.
Okay.
Did he ever go back after seeing it? I mean, did he?
Sure. And he went on to buy, Scott went on to buy a camp up in Canada, one of these really nice flying and driving fishing lodges that you go to. I think it was on Eagle Lake. His lot, and of course, I never knew he owned a lodge up there. I would have been up there every damn weekend. But he never told me. So we were kind of, you get kind of out of touch with your cousins sometimes.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But we've been talking a lot lately. We talk every week now. But he said it's weird because in the fall we would lock up our camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the spring we would come back and there'd be big rocks on the roof and all over. And we'd have to pick up these big rocks, like softball-sized rocks on the roof and all around the cabins.
Wow. And rocks just don't place themselves.
No, and you could see where the sod, they didn't come out of the ground. They were thrown or brought there from something.
Right.
Wow.
Over the winter. And I thought, well, it's a really interesting thought. I've never really thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's had a couple of encounters now up in Orbs, Minnesota. And of course, the only thing that happened up at that camp is that rock thing that would happen every year. It kind of bugged him. I don't even know where we were at. I was telling you about something. I don't remember. Other encounters.
Mm-hmm.
What was next? Let me think. I was riding a dirt bike along the railroad tracks near Egret Boulevard in my hometown. And I was in another area away from the railroad tracks, and I was with my girlfriend on the dirt bike, and we heard what sounded like a woman being murdered, and a lot of these long call screams that sound like 1,000-pound animal.
Yeah.
And we heard that, and that was really intriguing. And I kind of in the back of my head, was that a Bigfoot? What the hell was that thing? And then the next thing that happened probably wasn't until I went to Snell Grove.
Mm-hmm.
Even that whole time I did Mysterious Encounters, we had a couple of times the camper would get banged or the trailer would get banged in the middle of the night. I heard of my first wood knock with Matt in Florida.
Wow.
In a swamp in Florida. That was really cool. The wood knock answer that we had put out. It was like 3 a.m, middle of the Florida swamp. I don't think it was a person. I thought that was really cool. I mean, when we recorded it. And then nothing happened until, I'm trying to think when. Well, Snell Grove, there was a lot, Snell Grove cabin, a lot of activity up there. Although I didn't see one up at Snell. Except me and Joe, we did see 2 black shadows walking in between the trees, where we dumped all of our fish guts after we cleaned the fish up there. And that was really amazing. We also heard, in that same area, a bunch of it's not like chimpanzees fighting. Have you ever heard anything like that, Tex, where they're like,
I have.
fighting, like they're arguing?
The thing about it is, a lot of times, and I'm sure you know the difference, but I'm just going to put this out there for FYI, because I got fooled with it one time, and that's barred owls.
Yeah, I know barred owls. Yeah,
they'll get that monkey sound to them. But
they do, but they still sound like barred owls to me.
Yeah,
nah, it could
but
be.
if you're out there, if you're out there by yourself, you haven't been, and that thing that they cook off, it will fool you.
Well, okay, I'd buy it. Barred owls, if they were lifting the cabin off the ground, so I don't think it was barred owls.
I don't think that was barred owls at all. But
and throwing rocks to the cabin and sticks and logs. And
I've never heard anything that sounded like you're describing. No. I've been screamed at, I've been growled at, been huffed at, hollered at, but
when did you get? I'm curious. When you were growled at,
which time?
I've had that happen twice, but I was peeing both times.
I was. There was 4 of us up in Brown Springs, and I had found a game trail that led off the back of the cemetery that we were walking through. And I said, and it was the middle of the night. I said, hey, let's go down this game trail, big game trail. I took 2 steps towards it, and all 4 of us felt it as much as we heard it.
Wow.
Right in front of me.
That's scary. I had that happen at Skookum Meadows right by me. Like it sounded like it was 5 feet from me.
Yeah. Brandy and I actually just had it happen here just a few weeks ago down in Falk, Arkansas area.
Really?
Yes.
We were growled at. Mhm.
So you had something growl at you? What? You guys weren't peeing or anything?
No, Randy, go ahead and tell it.
No, we were just standing out there, and we were hearing different sounds and things like that, and we were hearing movement not only to one side but actually all around us. So
Wow.
it seemed like they were moving, and there was a couple growls that came up out of there. And the funny part is we couldn't really tell exactly where it was coming from.
Right.
It's like if you could throw your voice right there, that's exactly what was happening. We couldn't tell where it was coming from.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've heard that numerous times where it seemed to be almost all around you.
Yeah. We felt like we were being surrounded for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got, honestly, our team has got, as far as I'm concerned, probably the best physical evidence that's been pulled out of the field in years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, we've got handprints, we've got fingerprints, we've got, you know, some howls, and it's just, we got pictures of footprints, and it's, you know, a trackway, and you can, and on one of them it shows the metatarsal break just phenomenally well.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, the handprints are our pride and joy as a team. I mean, they really are.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've been really almost batting zero on casting anything ever.
Yeah.
Other than the Arctic ones. Those were very castable, but we didn't have plaster with us or hydrocal.
Right. And you weren't.
I'm working on a possible ulterior technique for casting footprints, because a lot of times, if they got a lot of water in them, you can't hardly cast them.
Right.
You know, I think I may have an answer to it. I got to experiment with it some more.
You got to lean down there and drink the water out of the footprint.
Yeah.
Take a spoon and spoon it out.
Well, you know, that's nothing new to us Texans. Every Texan you meet has drank water out of a dirty footprint. Okay, so no, what I'm looking at doing is trying that plastic dip that you dip tools in to get
plastic dip. Yeah, it's called plastic dip. Yeah, it's
plastic
PVC vinyl. Yeah, polyvinyl chloride.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm looking at possibly using that, because if you have water in a print or whatever, it will disperse the water and take the shape.
That's interesting.
And
Plastic
not only
dip.
that, when it dries, it's not hard. You don't have to worry about breaking it. You can just roll it.
Right. It dries. It actually dries pretty quick too.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty creative idea.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you can buy plastic dip in a spray can. You could do some really fine first, a shell, and then you could pour in the rest of it.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go, Tex. Let us
There
know
you
how it
go.
works out.
That's brilliant. I think that's pretty damn brilliant.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, it's got a pretty low viscosity, and I would think it would work as good, if not better, than it's got a slow motion viscosity.
Yeah.
Where like hydrocal starts generating heat right away and cures pretty quick. And I think plasti dip would probably, might really be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's well worth a shot. I'm not sure how well, and like I said, it's hard for me to experiment with snow down here in Texas. You know,
Right.
But I can get plenty of experimentation with water. So,
well, you can just go out and just make a footprint with your shoe and just see what you get for details.
Yep, absolutely.
I want to test it. I want to test it in different, weather conditions. I want to test it on different soils, and because one thing I'm not sure is how much debris it's going to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have no idea. I think what I would do is get a spray can first. You spray it. You get a shell going. That's going to stop the real deep penetration in between little pebbles. You create that eggshell. Because, like, I remember Rick Knoll telling me how they would, kind of like just splatter hydrocal to try to get a nice shell.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it. And then you do your big pour after the shell
That is a very, very brilliant idea. I have not thought about that. I got the whole idea from casting plastic worms.
I've done a lot of that too with vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
done a lot of that too.
That's where I got that. Well, and plus insulate my own tools. And I'm like, this is, why wouldn't it's self-leveling?
That's the kind of vinyl you have to melt.
Yeah.
For the worms, the thermal.
And then when because I kind of got the idea of why couldn't we make a mold like this? And then I dealt with the whole plastic dip. I'm like, man, this is in a can ready to go.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we do this? And you wouldn't have to worry about breaking a print, carrying it around in your backpack.
I was just getting ready to say, because
roll
I
it
think
up
I would try.
Oh, well, you're gonna have to try it. You got to let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me know. Somebody had asked something about the TV business. I got to tell a funny story why I wanted to get.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I've been starring, so yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I when I was a really little kid, like 4, maybe not even 4, I got a call from a local TV show. Back in the old days, they used to have local kid shows and all these little TV stations. And there was one, and there was apparently a contest my mom had entered me in to win Legos, which was a new thing, like Legos back then. So they called, and my mom hands me the phone and said, just say Jell-O and you'll win this. I'm like, so I say it. But what was unique is I got a tour of the TV station. And it was all these sets. And I thought TV, everything was black and white because we only had a black and white TV. But when I saw these sets for these different TV shows, they were all beautiful colored. I thought, oh, wow. But the whole thing made a really big impact on me.
Right.
Getting this private tour from one of the stars of one of these kid shows. And I just like, well, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the questions, I think. Mickey asked, when Doug was little, did you think your life would be on TV shows and such? So there you go.
Yeah, I just made a decision. I've always been that way. I just kind of make my mind up on what I'm going to do and just do it.
And just go for it. I love that.
I don't question anything. Like when I quit school, I didn't have any regrets. Best thing I ever did.
That's awesome.
So
you are not you would not be a good promoter for get your GED or get your high school diploma, stay in school, folks.
Well, you know what though? If you have a mission, if you're young and you have a mission, I just had this weird mission in my brain, and it was all because I felt this weather strip on my dad's. I think it was a Maverick. You remember the Mavericks, Ford Mavericks? And I went, this is hard as it's like terrible. Look how crappy it looks. And I'm like, I'm going to make something really smooth and cool and jet black. I just had this thing in my mind, and I just set out to do it, and I had to consult with a lot of people and lie. I used to call Dow Chemical and lie to get chemical samples. It was bad. Anyhow, but
I'm not even going to ask what you said.
Yeah. So then, like recently, I just developed another polymer that I've been working on for many years, and it's a paint. And you'll appreciate this, Tex, because you know how like they have painted vinyl for fishing lures, right? They paint it.
Right.
But the stuff doesn't really stay on if you stretch it and kind of comes off, right? It doesn't adhere very good. So I've been working for a long time to come up with a paint for TPR. And it's very hard to get paint to stick to TPR because there's a lot of oils in it, including vinyl has a lot of oils in it. So I finally had a big breakthrough on developing a paint that will stretch with the substrate. Like I can take TPR, paint it with no priming, no heating, no anything. Just put it on there, wait about 10 minutes, and I can stretch this TPR, which is thermoplastic rubber, a mile, and the paint does not break, doesn't peel away, doesn't anything. So now I'm like, okay, now what do I do with this one? Because the company's been trying to figure this out forever, and it just,
Mhm.
So when I get something focused like that, I won't give up on it. I've been working on that for, I'll bet you, all of 25 years.
Wow.
And then when you have a breakthrough and it works finally after 25 years of trying,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my God, I almost had tears coming out of my eyes.
I
Yeah.
bet.
So I called up my patent lawyer and I go, okay, what am I going to do with this one? He goes, oh God. So I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it's,
I mean,
it's really cool.
Well, I mean, one of the applications that just came to mind with me is you could, and this comes from a diver aspect, you could custom paint your wetsuits.
Oh God, yeah. Well, see, wetsuits are porous and they're lycra. They have lycra on them, and they have closed cell sponge, and then they have a layer of glued on lycra, that stretchable fabric, and it would stick really good to any kind of TPR is like what your phone case is made out of, but now they're going to TPR with lures, fishing lures now, because vinyl. TPR, like I developed a TPR many years ago for a number of lure companies to get away from vinyl, because vinyl is just such a crap plastic in the lure. It's soft, but it breaks apart real easy. So I started making TPR, developed the world's first TPR at 0 durometer. And I took it to Strike King and all sorts of places. And now a lot of them are going to it now. But I was a little ahead of my time. But we did make them or use that plastic was used for many different, what do you call it? Private label lures that were made. So it was used for quite a while, but now it's like no big deal anymore, but they're having trouble painting it.
Yeah.
So I got to figure out a way to get a hold of the right lure company to try to give them the secret for a certain undisclosed amount of money.
There you go.
Well, how do you charge for 25 years of your work? I don't know.
I'll tell you what.
The gift that keeps giving is what that is. You just keep
Doug,
paying.
if you never need somebody to go out and proof test this stuff for you, you just send me a batch of lures and I'll take care of it for you. I'll film the whole thing for you, man.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we'll have to. Why don't
you come on down and we'll put you on
Tex, just give me a call and we'll talk about the lure industry.
There you go. There you go.
Anyhow, sorry, boy, we sure digress. Probably lost everybody. Sorry about that.
No, you're
our shows are famous for going off the rails, Doug. Don't worry.
It does. We never go through an interview process. This is kind of like we start at the kitchen table drinking coffee or whatever your choice of drink is, and then we just move on.
Yeah, obviously you ended up talking about cats, so okay.
I started that. Well, because I got to let everybody know what's happening in my life because it's so exciting. And cats were what happened.
That's so exciting. Yeah.
I don't know. I can see the comments, and I don't know if you want me to comment on any of these.
I have several of the questions starred.
All right, I'm going to shut up and listen to you, Chris. So you take the.
Well, I have a question. I have a quick question for you. You're good. You're totally good, Doug. So somebody else asked in here too. We've talked about Bigfoot and that kind of stuff, but what about? I think this here. True Heart asked, "Have you ever encountered a dogman?"
Good question.
No, I don't. I hope not. I might have. I don't know. Because you don't really know what you're dealing with, and I don't necessarily disbelieve because I've talked to so many people that have seen them. And the last guy I talked to, I questioned him for about 2 hours. And he's like, I see these things every year. My grandmother saw them on our farm. And now I see them. And he describes them. And then when you find out he's like, teaches survival and, he's really a good outdoors person. And he's a wild plant expert. I mean, he's just got a lot of outdoor skills.
Sure.
You just wouldn't think somebody like that would be taken to flights of fancy about seeing a dogman. Or he's actually claims he's seen like females with young. And I'm like, okay, well.
Interesting.
I don't know. For years, I just thought they were Bigfoots with kind of a more of a snout.
Snout, yeah.
And that still could be the case, right? We don't know.
No, we don't know. All right. Another question is, Kevin asked, is there a connection in the environment or ecosystem in these encounters? What do you believe?
Oh God, yes, big time. Water is the most important element that needs to be present. Water.
Yep.
Best, even better than just water, is to have some good fresh water, like drinkable type water. So potable water next to or near a swamp, near a creek, near a cut through, like a power line cut, a railroad track. Where all these things intersect seems to be where the most sightings happen.
Yeah.
Edges, farm edges, forest, and then a farm edge. Better yet, an apple orchard, or corn being grown. They seem to like corn. So it's edges and water. So it's very much a geographic problem we're dealing with: woods, water, and hills. And the more you have of that stuff, the more sightings you're going to have.
Sure. Absolutely. So I have a question. Brandy and I, we started out doing on the paranormal side of things, ghosts and that kind of thing. And, I saw orbs with my eyes for the first time in a haunted location.
Yeah.
It was a green or a blue softball size orb. And several other people saw it with me. And like I said, we were inside a building in a haunted location. Fast forward up to about 2-3 years ago, Brandy and I, we were at the Land Between the Lakes, and it was mid-20s. It was colder than all get out. We were the only ones out there at this time of night in the middle of nowhere. And there was about 10 of us, and we're seeing these orbs off in the woods.
Okay.
And so that really changed my mindset that, I can't say that orbs are just paranormal or and I can't say that it wasn't, on the paranormal side of things. However, we could hear things walking up to us, but we would shine a light and there was nothing there, and then we all kept seeing different colors, different sizes of these orbs. So my question is, what is your thoughts on the connection with the paranormal and these creatures? What do you believe they're connected, or why not?
Yeah, I've had a lot of orb experience. First off, I'm not going to connect orbs to any other phenomena or mystery. They seem to be a standalone mystery. They're actually quite common nowadays compared to what they used to be, and that's an interesting thing that's going on. So I saw my first orbs many years ago. I was a child, and me and my sister both witnessed it in our home, which is really scary when you see them in your home. We were, my mom and dad were gone. They went to a nightclub. We didn't even know what the word nightclub meant back then. But we thought we were going to clean the house for mom and dad, right? We're going to vacuum, mop the floor. We're just going to surprise them.
Sure.
And so that's what we did. And then we got done. We're sitting at the kitchen table. We're kind of tired. And we smell sulfur.
Oh,
Smoke, like somebody had lit a match.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the heck? And then she smelled it, and we're both smelling this. Then it kind of went away, and then we smelt it again. So we went and walked around the house looking for a fire. Then we went downstairs. We thought, well, you better check downstairs. So the basement was unfinished. All that was down in our basement was a big pool table. So we walked down the stairs, and here comes a sparking orb. Is the best way I can describe it. It's got sparks coming off it. And it goes right in front of the stairway, and it slams into the wall right next to the pool table and explodes into a bunch of pieces.
Oh, wow.
And we thought, okay, here comes another one. Shoots from that, around the corner, hits the wall and explodes. And of course, we bolt upstairs. The first one just paralyzed us. The second one was like, get the hell out of here. So, okay, so that was my first experience. And then many, 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 many years go by. I haven't seen anything like orbs until I moved up to the city I currently live in. moved into this house, and I live on water. And we were like at night, we have a fire pit in our own little beach out here, and we'll sit out there, and we were seeing orbs like almost every night.
Wow.
And sometimes late. We'd be out there till 1:30 in the morning. We'd see them, and they would always come right over the top of us, slowly, low and slow, about the height of roofs, like a 2-story house height. And they would many times change direction. Sometimes they were blue, sometimes white. But then we were driving one day in my town, and we saw a sparking orb come from the airport, go right over the top of our windshield, about maybe 10 feet away, and into the woods, slow. But it's that same kind I saw when I was a kid. Bunches like Buck Rogers, sparks coming off it.
I've seen those, and they remind me of kind of like sparklers.
Sparkler, exactly. Or one of those guns we had when we were kids. You had the wheel and the flint. And the flint. It was like that.
Yes.
And I remember Yvette going, "Oh, we should follow it." And I'm like, "What, into the woods? Are you nuts?" I'm not going to park and follow some sparking orb into the forest.
Yeah, that's what I said. Famous last words.
I'm not. I mean, I'll defend my family with my life, with ulcer, but I'm not going to purposely go do something stupid like that. So then, another story, and people can laugh at this, and I'm not going to say where I was, but I was watching a small orb one day. I was with Alex, my son, and actually I think Blaine was there too. And I'm seeing this orb like darting, and at first I thought it was a moth, but it was small, like I don't know, the size of a quarter, I guess. But it's bright white, and it's just darting around. I thought, what the hell am I looking at? It's not a moth; it's a little ball of light, and then it pushed right into my face.
Oh wow!
Oh no!
So I ended up almost in the hospital because of that. I mean, I burnt. I got home. By the time I got home, my face had swollen up. To this day, I have a nice big scar about the size of a dime where, it swelled up, and it took like a month and a half, 2 months to heal. I don't know what that was.
No.
But orbs burn.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. I've not touched one.
This happened in the 90s. That would have been, I don't know, I'm trying to think, probably 1991 too. A lot of stuff happened to me in 91, I guess. But that was it. You could never repeat another experience like that again.
No.
I don't know if it was an orb 100%, but something round, little, that darted around, seemed to be intelligent, and then attacked me, or just, went into me.
Wow. And I have talked to so many people that had encounters with orbs that have seen them. You are the first person I ever met that one, like attacked you. I
have a scar to this day from it. I still have the scar in my face from that.
That to me didn't sound like it was something good. That it was.
It was. You can imagine me. I grabbed my children and we just ran for the car.
Wow.
It was actually kind of scary. And I just thought, well, when is this going to quit swelling up? And what is it? And is it a good thing or a bad thing? Or was it just some kind of inert energy? Like what do you call it? Ball lightning that I got hit with?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no answers. I think it's been okay. I've had a good life since, so I'm not. But then, so we moved into this house, and it started getting really crazy. Like we started having orb situations that were weird. Here's the creepiest orb story. Well, I've got 2 of them now, 3 of them that are really, really creepy. So me and Yvette were out on the deck because it was a beautiful sunny day. It was kind of probably May. Getting our swimsuits, lay on the deck. And I wasn't out there 2 minutes, and I laid my phone on the little end table between us, and all of a sudden she starts screaming. I'm down in my chair 2 minutes here. And she's freaking out. I'm like, what? And I look at her and she's like trying to point like behind me. So I turn and there's a jet black orb, broad daylight, over the railing on the deck, just sitting there, but it's changing shape. It's going from a circle to a triangle to an oval to a pill shaped. And of course, being a photographer, I reach for my camera real slow and I'm cornering this thing, and it's blacker. It's like Vanta black, blacker than black. And it's got like a skin texture on it. So I reach for my phone slowly. I turn it on. And I can't really, see the controls too good because it's really a sunny, beautiful day. There's a few clouds in the sky. And I go ahead and zip it up there to film this thing really quick. And the moment I'm moving my arm like this, it's taking off into the clouds. So without giving up, I grab my phone and I just figured, well, I saw it head up to the clouds. So I'm just holding my phone because they're a wide angle lens. I figure I'm going to get something. Couldn't even see it with my eyes. And I went in the garage and I could see a small black dot on there. And I sent it to Dan Nyberg. He blew it up, stabilized it for me. And I've got it on my phone. I could probably hold it up to the camera. You can probably see it. And then we went in the garage. We looked at it. We went back out on the deck. And here comes one right out of the lake. Right in front of my house. Just zoom from the lake up into the clouds.
Wow.
Black. Now, was it the same one that came back down when we went in the garage, or was it a new one? But this thing was intelligent. Here's why. Yvette said she was watching it go around a pine tree, just going around it like it was inspecting this pine tree. And then it came up to the railing on the deck. And when it got within a rake's length from my head, that's when she did this. She jerked back when she realized it was it wasn't like a balloon or some misidentified. She said it did the same thing. It mimicked her. She jerked back, it jerked back. And that's when she screamed.
Wow.
And that's when I, of course, got involved at that point.
Yeah.
So
what
that
do you
was
think that might have been? Do you think it was like on the paranormal ghost side of things, or do you think?
I don't know. I think more on alien.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think let's put it this way: from the ground up to 300 miles up is still part of our atmosphere. There's still gases from Earth. These things could be like sunfish, crappies. Relate them to fish, phytoplankton, sky plankton. They could be living creatures that feed on Pseudomonas syringae in the upper atmosphere, or the other countless nutrients that are here in our atmosphere.
Right.
They could be creatures. They could be living off solar energy.
Sure.
Maybe they come down and drink water. There's too many people seeing these, like jellyfish,
Right.
like rods. There's all sorts of weird creatures people do see.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a misunderstood that we have this great ecosystem above us that we know nothing about.
Right.
I mean, when's the last time you heard anybody studying the upper atmosphere? Nobody gives a crap.
Right.
They look at it for, they don't look at it for creatures.
Yeah. Me and Brandy, and two other people that was with us, we had it was my first orb experience.
Yeah.
And a weird one.
Yeah, it was. Because we couldn't see it with the naked eye. We caught it on thermal.
Thermal. It was actually showing a heat signature.
Yeah. It was, solid black heat signature. And it was doing the same thing you were talking about. It was changing shape. It was a lot like we describe it as a bubble in a lava lamp.
Okay, that makes sense.
It was about I don't know, about that big around. It wasn't like, huge, but it was floating about 16, 18 inches off the ground, something like that.
But by the way, if you want to hear Yvette describing that same exact story, she did Cliff and Bobo's after hours show.
Oh, okay.
Really?
And so it's on there. She did it I'm like, it's the only time she's ever done a podcast. But she did it and told that story, and I was like really proud of her, and she hasn't done it once since. So, but if anybody wants to hear it and they're a member, it's in their after hours show at the I'm on, and then I get off and she comes on. So,
Very cool.
all right, anyhow.
Very cool.
So a lava lamp is a good way to describe these things, maybe.
Mhm.
But
I don't know what they are.
I don't either. This one was really strange. I mean, we were sitting there, we were watching it, we were passing the thermal. There's 4 of us, and we were passing the thermal back and forth watching this thing.
Yeah.
And I took off and walked towards it, and it moved away from me, but it didn't like jet off or run off. It just kept a certain distance from me. And then when I backed up, it kept the same distance from me and moved backward.
Yeah.
You know, and then we watched it, and it just slowly like cooled off and cooled off and cooled off and cooled off, and finally just disappeared.
Yeah. It moved with intelligence. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the question is, what type of intelligence? Is it the intelligence of a bass, or the intelligence of artificial intelligence? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it stayed close enough to him to check him out, but it didn't get close enough to him so he could actually like walk through it or touch it or anything like that. It kept its distance, but it didn't leave him, too far.
Yeah.
It wasn't far at all.
By the way, I have a little caveat to that story. I remember I said it went around the tree. She was watching this thing go around our pine tree out here.
Mhm.
I went out and inspected that pine tree like a day or two later, and I wonder why it was, why it was just like any other pine tree. So I go in there, I look at that pine tree, and sure crap, there is a parasitic tree growing and wrapping around that pine tree on the inside. So what if this thing was down here studying plant life or whatever it was,
Right.
and it was like couldn't figure out what kind of tree it was because there were this parasitic tree in it, and I had to get a guy to come out and get that parasitic tree out of there.
Wow.
So there you go. That's just interesting.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You got a lot more questions. I'm going to try to get everybody's questions answered here real quick. So next one is Ristel. Ristel says, Doug, you have mentioned in the past that there is a vesicle protein in the human eye that can produce light. Need more info to deep dive.
Yeah, have fun with that one. The last study I read was basically they've been taking people, putting them in zero darkness, and then using a very delicate, some kind of light sensor. Mm-hmm. This is pretty recent, and this isn't the first paper I've read on it. And they were detecting light that was emanating from protein cells in these people's eyes, right? So they know it's all of us. Only humans have these. We have like 6 cells, as I remember, left over. So it's like recidivism. Gotcha. There's no other animals that they've tested that they can find with these light producing cells. And of course, people talk about Bigfoot's eyes glowing, right? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe they have millions of cells of those same cells in their eyes. And I just found it really like, oh my God, I remember getting chills when I first read that humans actually produce light. And it's like it's a form of rhodopsin in our eyes. But it just emits light, absorbs and then emits light. Very cool.
Interesting.
That is the best argument I've heard for glowing eyes. Yeah. As far as Bigfoot goes.
Yeah, it's not that weird. I mean, if they're finding that humans all eyes glow, very low because we don't have many cells. But if you times that times a billion, you're going to have some pretty damn good glowing eyes.
Right. Well, and what if certain Bigfoot or what if it's a type of birth defect? Some of them are born with it, a lot of them, and some of them are not.
Yeah, absolutely. There could be all sorts of traits. Like some of us have black skin, some have white skin, some have freckles, some don't. We're all very different. We're all human, right?
Yep.
But we're all so different from each other.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep saying. I think Bigfoot are as different as we are.
Yeah.
from each other. I really do.
Yeah. I have to say this, and it's something that I've heard off of. I don't know if it's an old Western, it's something, and they're talking about being dark outside, and they said that they snuck up on us, and we only seen the whites of their eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That saying's been around for years and years and years,
Right.
and I that kind of makes sense when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes in the dark, that all you can see are the whites of somebody's eyes because
Yeah,
they have
that's
that.
interesting. Yeah, I've
That's
witnessed the eye glow personally up in Canada once. I watched, I don't know what else it could have been, like a family of Bigfoots with glowing red eyes, not at Snowgrove, but in the nearest town would be Emo, Ontario.
Oh.
And I was with 3 other people, and we're up on a cliff, and I've got binoculars, and I'm just watching this with binoculars at night, and I see these red eyes, just 2 eyes moving. You can see them blinking slow. You could see. We watched for like almost a half an hour.
Wow.
I don't know what it was. I have no idea. I wasn't going to yell down there. We were just really getting off on watching this.
Right.
It's certainly in a good Bigfoot area.
Right.
Wow.
They were tall. That I knew. They weren't little animals, and they were red. The glow was red.
Mhm.
Wow.
Weird, I guess orangish red. So, I don't know. Who knows?
Very cool. All right, next question. My blog Sunny, she asked, Doug, do you believe forest people are related to Bigfoot? They are not as tall and thinner, lanky looking.
I have no idea. I don't know the difference.
I don't either.
Forest people to me are Bigfoots.
Mhm.
I think they're more human than they are not.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with the DNA that we're going to continue to get. We have to study what's not human, not worry about what's human and go, oh, it's contaminated. No. Give me the part that doesn't match. Let's work on that. I don't give a damn about the other stuff.
Right.
That's a scapegoat. I mean, that's all that is.
That drives me nuts. I just got turned down again from another lab. Here's my problem. If I tell them it's Bigfoot DNA I want tested, they may get excited and they may go, nope, goodbye, hang up on me.
Yep.
Or if I don't, and then they find out, then they won't maybe go on camera. I don't know. So I'm walking this weird line because I'm trying to get more labs involved in my study for Religion Meets Science. And we have NC State, but it's been a long time. I'm getting a little antsy to get my doc done. Understandably, I want the results. And I understand it takes time, but I don't have forever. So I'm going to start putting some really good samples out to some other labs. But I just got the door shut in my face twice here.
And somebody brought this up. We were doing a show, and somebody in chat brought this up the other day. And I thought, man, I wonder what would happen if you. And they suggested sending it a swab of DNA to one of these.
23andMe or whatever.
Yeah, and just see what would happen.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It really isn't. But they usually require spit.
Yeah,
and you're not going to put a hair on the bottom of their tube and send it in.
I mean,
they're looking for the
thing I've got
cells.
Is the oil off the hand. That's the closest thing I've got.
So you have some of that collected, Tex?
Yeah.
How much of it? Like in a Q-tip?
I've got a whole handprint.
Well, we need to talk.
I've been trying to talk to you for a long time, brother, about the stuff I've got.
Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's because the skin oil, I think, could be the biggest breakthrough because you have the forensic fingerprint, which I'm sure you photographed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the forensic stuff, which you can't fake. Then you have DNA you can get out of the skin oil. But then you have the chemical compounds in the skin oil. Right. Because every primate has their own set of chemicals. Bonobos are different than chimps. They're different than orangutans and different than humans. And not only different levels of things, but different chemicals, which is great. So sebum is very very specific to species.
Mm-hmm.
It's very promising.
Yeah.
Do we want to show the handprint?
Yeah.
The really good one.
Definitely.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I'll bring it up then.
This one always fascinates me.
You'll have to put them all back on because I cleaned out the.
Oh, I've got it back here on a.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's that one photo that really just sends it home.
It's a great picture. It really is.
All right, put it up. I'm going to shut my camera off and my mic just for a second.
Okay.
Because I've got a cough coming. I'm getting over a cold.
You're good.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just hang on. I'm here.
Yep.
So this is on the side of my truck, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that's a good one.
And
It's
it's
big.
a
Look at that.
forearm. Yeah,
Look
it's a
at that.
forearm and a hand. Okay. Now, one of the important things is these handprints, we identified 3 separate sets of prints. And they appeared within about a 30-minute window. And there's a whole backstory to it. But they were all the handprints were smaller than anybody else's on the team. But we couldn't replicate the spread between the forefinger and the thumb. It's like the thumb is located further down on the hand itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing. And what is that you're pointing to right there?
That is a forearm.
Okay, now back it up so I can see the whole thing.
Zoom in on the actual print because I think that has some relevance. You can see that.
Those prints do not swirl.
Yeah, nobody can say that isn't some thick crap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The sebum is this waxy. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's what we named Sasquatch alba vernix, based on the wax that babies are covered with. God, that looks thick. Was it thick, Tex?
Oh yeah, this is the only one that was that thick. The other ones moved the dirt off my truck. This like put more on it. It was crazy. But this is not the one that we pulled for the
Oil.
the oil. That one we found a few months later on a SUV that was in camp, and it was a huge handprint on the top of this SUV that this thing obviously had its hand on top of the SUV watching us at the campfire. And then right where we had been peeing all night, and there's a big pee spot right in the middle of where we've been peeing, and that thing's probably 2.5 feet across. And
yeah, they do that. They do that. I've witnessed it within a foot away from myself. I got a great story. You want to hear a great Bigfoot peeing story?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, hang on just a second. Yeah, I gotta hear that story.
This was, the first question we get asked is, "Oh, did you get samples?" Why? We had been peeing there. It was null and void.
Right.
Because they're going to tell you it's contaminated anyway. Well, it is contaminated. But so anyway, we didn't get samples of that, but we pulled that handprint, which was a very, very oily handprint, with clear packing tape. And we put it in a freezer bag, and it is in a freezer right now. So
brilliant. When did you collect this, Tex?
Was it a couple of
About
years
a year
ago?
and a half ago. A year.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. Well, what I found interesting about this print is
was it in Texas?
Oklahoma.
Okay, near there.
And then what I find interesting about this whole thing is that the forearm, I mean, yes, the prints and everything, but the forearm, you can actually see where it's hair.
Hair. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'd say. Okay, I'm looking for a certain pattern. Go to the other ones up close like that.
The other fingers.
I want to see. No, just what you're doing. Just kind of go over the whole thing where the white stuff is. I'm looking for a pattern that we've identified in a few different. Okay, go to the fingers now. That's definitely hair. Looks like a paintbrush went over it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see a lot of that's weird curving.
Mhm. Yeah, no
And-
swirls.
It's kind of curved the opposite direction, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've had fingerprint experts and I had Chester Moore look at this also.
Yeah, and what did
And
Chester say?
he says he said it's primate. He said it's not human. You know,
Wow.
and I've had Steve Coles look at it. He said the same thing. I had somebody else look at it. There's a law enforcement fingerprint expert. They said, I can't tell you what that is, but it's not human because every fingerprint of a human without fail swirls. These go straight across.
Yep.
Well, I've got two other ones that can look at it too.
Okay.
Was that David? Did David look at it? I can't think of David's last name right now. Why is that?
No, it wasn't him. It was somebody else.
Okay. Well, let's get some more people to look at this text. This is really good because it's quite thick.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've preserved them.
Mhm.
The only thing I would have been great to see is a ruler, but
I've got we had a flashlight.
is that the weather strip? Is that the window belt weather strip up there?
No, that's the edge of the bed of my truck.
Oh,
I had a
is that
bed
the
cover on
tailgate?
it.
The tailgate.
It's the side of my truck. So
Okay, could you measure? Do you still have that truck? I hope.
Mhm.
If you could measure those distances, that would.
Well,
be
we have a picture. We have a picture. Let's see. I may have it.
It's almost as if it were like crawling or sneaking around the truck,
Yeah.
so it couldn't be seen.
I don't have that handprint on this.
That's a great picture, by the way.
For all of you Texas.
But I've got a picture of that handprint with a flashlight that we know the size of the flashlight, and the flashlight's just over 5 inches, and it's set here. So, but I can send you that too. So I've got several.
But do you think it was a juvenile? Correct.
I think there was 3 of them. And the backstory to this, real quick, is I had been up, and this is Brown Springs, Oklahoma, and I had been up in the cemetery doing a solo show. I was live. My phone went dead, and my safety team was parked down there. Their truck was next to mine. When my phone died, they came up to get me. Okay, and in their rush to come get me, they left the keys in the truck. They left the truck unlocked. All their thousands of dollars of electronics were in the truck. The tailgate was up, and a bear-proof Yeti cooler was in the back, and it was closed and latched. When we came back down, all these handprints were on our trucks. Unfortunately, and that's a very sandy area. Unfortunately, we started breaking the areas now, but we had walked around it oogling at these so much that we didn't even think about footprints. But the tailgate was down. The bear-proof Yeti cooler had been unlatched and opened and then closed, but it wasn't latched. Okay. There was water water and ice dripped over the tailgate where something had scooped its hand into the ice.
Wow.
And then on the edge of the top of the cab in his truck were 2 handprints side by side with water between them, drops between them. So, it was a fantastic. We were like kids in a candy store. I mean, we were giddy as schoolgirls.
Well, heck yeah. Yeah, these are great prints, Tex, for sure.
But I haven't seen anybody else bring stuff like this out of the field in a long time. Not that they're sharing.
Well, we do have other ones. That's why it's so important, because we can find a trait. Okay, like the fingerprint, how it's more horizontal.
Right.
We can compare that and look for that trait in some of the other photos and things we have.
Look how far away that thumb is, too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm doing this, and yeah, it's it's a strangely shaped hand.
Yeah.
Now, this material, this white crap that they seem to have. One theory I have is that they're getting it from their armpits, this waxy crap, and they're rubbing it on their hands, maybe all over their body. For what purpose, I don't know. But think about baseball players. You know, they use it. They use something like this for grip, right?
Right.
So it could help them grip things. Maybe they produce it when they're agitated. Maybe only males produce it. You know, we have a lot of ifs, a lot of questions.
Right.
But it's quite thick and quite hard to get off. So that's fascinating. So it's 3D evidence. Anybody listening? Three-dimensional evidence, forensic, DNA, and the chemistry compound of the actual sebum or the SSL, surface skin lipids.
Yeah.
So it's quite
Good capture, Tex.
Oh, big time. It could be just one print like that that changes the entire science of this thing.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's all it's going to take is one thing. And it drives me nuts. We're so close.
I know, right?
We're so close.
We're right there. We're right there. It's like 5 seconds to midnight.
Yeah.
Right.
With all the technology, the noose is tightening, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
We've got some fantastic audio. I mean, out of Southeast Oklahoma too.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yep. After the show, you guys need to exchange information.
Right.
Yeah. Tex, you're killing me tonight.
Well, it is at the hour and a half mark, and we have Monica Rawlins, our Paranormal World, comes on at 10 p.m. So we don't like to step on toes. So
Hell no.
yep.
Still squash us.
Yeah. We absolutely appreciate you coming on tonight, and we'd love to have you back in the future if you're willing to come back.
Yep. And do you have my phone number, Tex?
I do not.
You do not? Well,
We'll get that right after the show then.
Yeah, give it to him.
Yeah,
Hey,
we'll
you guys
exchange
have got it.
I don't, but I'm sure BMR might have it.
Yeah, for sure. Rob does.
Okay.
And you
Jim
can
or
get it
Jason,
from
I'm
Rob.
sure have it.
Yeah.
But you can always just message me on Messenger.
Okay. Tex
And
doesn't do Messenger. He doesn't do Facebook.
He doesn't do the Facebook. No.
I don't blame you there. Well, just make sure I hear from you tomorrow.
Okay.
One way or the other, you gotta get a hold of me because it's historical what you have. It really is.
Wow. Thank you. That means so much.
It's historical. And it's clear and it's really amazing. So,
Yep.
So good job.
Yep. Absolutely. Great catch.
Well, it was fun. Sorry, I probably rambled too much.
No, you did not. This has been great. And, I enjoyed you on Rob's show and I've enjoyed tonight. So we definitely would like to have you back.
I'd love to. Yeah. Anytime. I'm always game.
Yeah.
Because by doing these things, just exchanging and sharing information, there's always something really good that comes out of it.
Absolutely. Well, tonight,
this is the way we do it. This is the way we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I want to thank Joanne. I want to thank BMR, My Vlog Sunny again, OPR 357, and Kevin Hammerschmidt. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. It's not, definitely it's not taken for granted. So we definitely appreciate it. And Doug, we want to thank you because you are a sponsor for our conference.
Yes.
Yep.
And we definitely appreciate you doing that. And I'd like to, I told you that on BMR show, we'd love to have you come if you in the Kansas City area for that weekend. We'd love to have you come on down.
All right. I need somebody who can drive with me. I'm not the solo guy that gets in the truck. I gotta always have somebody with me. I'm one of those weirdos. But unfortunately, as I get older, I've got more and more buddies that are retiring. So I can,
Right.
Just grab one of them and come on.
Yeah. It's fun. All right. Well, good night, everybody. And thank you so much. And we'll talk to everybody soon.
Yep, absolutely. Good night, everyone. We'll see everyone.
I'll holler at you tomorrow, Doug.
All right.
See you tomorrow night, everybody, 7 p.m. with Daniel Becker. Did I say that right?
Is it at 7 p.m.?
7 p.m. Yes, I think that's what you did. 7 p.m.
I was going to check with
Can
you.
you do 7 p.m.? I think is what she's asking.
I can do 7 p.m.
All right. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.